I believe that. So to wrap up, again, what I'm finding, some of my learnings, and I would share with you for your consideration, a way to create a process of innovation. I thought that was really strange when I started learning about this because innovation and process don't seem to go together. They absolutely do. And I've learned that people who truly drive innovative approaches that have results, and one of the things about innovation and creativity that I was confused about to start with is, and the Insight guys taught me this, is, you know, creativity is Da Vinci, innovation is Edison. And we're interested at my company, and I would offer at yours, in things that we can do that actually have an impact, hopefully at the customer level, not things that are just creative with no impact. So you need to put a process in place, figure out how to spot opportunities, create simple metrics, right? Put them out there in a transparent way, and then establish a sustainable platform. And hopefully, you will not wind up like this if you execute from here.
Baby steps, get on a bus. Baby steps, get on a bus. Baby steps,
This is the last bus to Winnipesaukee, Bob.
Yes, I know, Wing, thank you. Baby steps toward the bus. Baby steps toward the bus.
So I think it's our last bus to Winnipesaukee now. The opportunity's here. Thanks a lot for listening.
So I understand that you're trying to create an environment that's open for presenting new ideas from anywhere. How do you then assess the value and prioritize those ideas?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the things we found, we learned in the Impact Jam, is we got, in our volume of responses, we got a lot of suggestions. When you really tried to dig in deep and see those that had good criteria behind them around what kind of impact they would make, there were fewer, which is what led us to the Impact Ideas platform. So we put together a very loose criteria to ask people when they bring those ideas forward to tell us what they think the customer impact is. If it's a process initiative from an internal point of view, what they think the impact will be internally in terms of savings or efficiencies. And then what they think it might take to try to get this started. So not a detailed business plan. This is literally a short thing you can put in there. But it's a way to get people to think about what's that outcome that we hope to realize from this. And then when we go through and do the screening on these ideas, that's where, and I mentioned the Junior Management Committee, which is, it's nice because it's a neutral group of executives from various parts of the organization who can look at these from an overall point of view, and then they may dig deeper into some of these. And then we have to make some decisions to say, what are our corporate priorities that we have that we're trying to drive? How do these align or not? And the other thing right now that's a big priority for me personally is I'm looking for those examples, because that's another really important sustainable change initiative, is to create those clear examples that people can see. So we're using some of those approaches to dig in, but it's a challenge, because you'll find all of a sudden when you unlock that potential, ideas come from everywhere, which is terrific, and it can be very overwhelming. So you want to step back and think about some things for people to bring forward about what's that outcome they're going to try to drive.
Great. Oh, hey, thanks very much. That was really interesting. So there was a comment that came out of the last session that I was thinking about when it comes to, resonated with me because we have it at our company, and I wanted to ask you if you felt the same way, and that's that the guys that are making the decisions in legal, regulatory, medical, they seem to all have a different sort of sense of a background right now. So while one lawyer might say, that's great, you know, I don't see any risk to that, another one says, yes, there's big risk there. So are you having that same issue, and how are you getting, if you do, how are you getting over those hurdles?
Sure, I think it's a terrific question. I think we certainly, and whether it be digital efforts, social media, online, or other just new innovative approaches, we clearly have a varying level of understanding within the company of what we're trying to do, and then various, you know, respective experience around whether that's good or not. So we definitely run into that. And the way I personally try to tackle these is I'm a big believer and I control 50% of the initiative. So one of the responsibilities I have in the organization is I've got to lay out a very clear rationale and talk to people about what it is I'm trying to do. Because I can always sit back and say, well, you know, this guy said no and this one said yes, but one, you know, and then make decisions about whether or not I can move forward. And that's not so productive, and I'm making some really big assumptions. One of the things I can do is I can go out to talk to everyone in the company that I can find, and I'm pretty good at finding people. I find them everywhere. In the US, I find them in Paris, I find them wherever I can go. And I can share with them the rationale of what I'm trying to do. And then I apply this approach that I've talked with you about. If I can describe it quickly, tell them why, tell them how I'm going to measure it, and then get them to participate in creating the solution, I've found it to be useful. Is it easy? Absolutely not. No, not at all. But it's fun, and when you find people that really are interested in doing that, when they see the rewards they can drive, it's really exciting to see within an organization. But it's absolutely something we run into. It's something I hear as a stumbling block, and yeah, I'm sorry, if you get me going on the whole legal regulatory thing, we'll be here past cocktails. But I've found if you can take accountability for getting out, finding the influencers, sharing your perspective, and then bringing forward the simple approach to put it out there, and then you'll learn together. And it's not you against them, and then let's watch and see and put the best plan forward.
Great.
You have another one?
A
A different perspective, maybe.
Okay, so unless anybody else has a question, I'll
Yeah,
ask
they're
you this
all
one.
ready for.
Yeah, I'm ready for a drink too, but here's my question first. So the idea generation piece is very cool. So who owns the idea, and have you guys talked about that from an IP perspective inside the company?
Okay. So far, with the exception of a few extended brand teams, we've done most of this work internally. We have had some sessions where we've had patients in, and we've had other providers in. But a lot of it is more of our approach that we're going to take, and so we haven't run into any kind of IP issues. We're actively seeking new service models and new revenue opportunities beyond the brands. It's an initiative, it's an objective I have. And I think, again, we'll go with that. We'll discover that as we go. Every one of our teams has a lawyer participating up front. So they get to be there and hear from the idea from the very beginning. So far for us, that's not been an issue. And we have a team that's this month, and I'll give a little plug for the InTouch team, who's launching their own iPhone application for diabetes around meal planning efforts. And we found a way to bring that forward from start to finish. So far it hasn't been an issue, but you got to get the right people involved up front.
Okay, great, thank you.
Oh. That's a really good question. And you know, I'm fortunate because I've got a department, I've got a terrific team. My company has said we're committed to this. We're putting a whole department together with people and resources to drive this forward. And I have the luxury to move on things without even having to seduce a whole lot of people. But it's a good idea to get people involved up front. But what we're trying to drive across the company is even without that department there, if it's the right opportunity that has an impact you can describe, it better be your day job. Because the first thing we ask them is, what are you doing in that day job that has a bigger impact than this? And forcing people to make a trade-off, it's been a struggle because at first everything was incremental, right? But now you're encouraging people, hey guys, you got to stop things that are not productive. Define what's core and cut out everything else. You'll save some money, you'll save some time, and you probably get better results. And that's one of the ways that we're approaching that as well. So it becomes their responsibility if you get that objective right up front. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Dennis.